Yes, we are recording.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay.
You should have got the message, yes?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I was sharing the whole screen. Okay, good. Yeah, okay.
Good.
Yeah, so we will cut this first part. Okay, so so I want to start by telling you what is the staff exchanges, and most importantly, also what is not, to manage your expectations. It's basically, the story is a consortium, is a group of organizations in an international setting that comes together to exchange knowledge and expertise. And this exchange of knowledge and expertise is materialized via the so-called secondments, which are basically research stays of at least 1 month in other organizations. And the staff will do these secondments, will do these research stays, can be either PhDs or postdocs, professors, or also administrative or technical staff involved in research and innovation activities. What is important for you to know is that this is not a funding scheme for individual applicants willing to make research visits abroad. It also does not provide funding for recruiting new staff. So the funding of the staff exchange, I will tell you a bit more, will consist of a top-up to the salary of staff that is already employed in your organization. And the good thing is that it's bottom-up with regards to the research topics, so it's open to all fields, and the projects last 4 years. Before we go deeper into the staff exchange, a few words about who we are, actually, for those who don't know. So I am Marco. I'm one of the national contact points of MSCA at uResearch, together with Manuel Bianco and Isabel Spüler, who are also in this call. And uResearch, in a few words, so is a non-profit organization funded by the Swiss government, with a network office in Bern and offices in all Swiss regions. And among the service that we provide, we organize info events like this one, trainings for applicants, and we can also review your proposals before the submission. And yeah, just to say that, yeah, as I said, every Swiss region has its uResearch office, and they are your first points of contact if you have questions about Horizon Europe. And you may know that things have changed, have evolved recently between Switzerland and the EU since last year. The EU has activated the transitional arrangements towards the association of Switzerland to Horizon Europe. And this allows, as of the 2025 calls, this allows Swiss-based organizations to apply as beneficiaries in Horizon Europe and receive funding from the European Commissions. And so for staff exchanges, if you wish to receive funding, you must apply as beneficiary and not as associated partner, as this was the case in the last years. And one good thing is also that you can now apply as a coordinator of a project. For more updates about this situation, you can refer to the dedicated webpage from the State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation. So to build a consortium for the staff exchange, you must be minimum 3 organizations from 3 different countries, 2 of which must be based in EU member states or countries that are associated to Horizon Europe. And for this call, this applies to Switzerland. This is not the only requirement. There are criteria related to the country or the sector meaning whether it's in academia or outside of academia, because the staff exchange, one of the goals of the staff exchange is to promote collaboration with countries outside of Europe, and also between academia and industry or other non-academic sectors. So for this reason, let's see some example here. So if all organizations are from the same sector, let's say in academia, in this case, it is possible, but at least one organization must come from a non-associated third country. So in this example, first example that you see here, this can be with the addition of university from Canada. If all organizations are from EU member states and associated countries, this is also possible, but at least one must come from another sector. So if we have a consortium made of universities, as you can see below, you must have at least one non-academic partner, like a company, like a Swiss company, for example. And regarding the secondments, so these are really the basis of this funding scheme. So secondments are temporary assignments where staff from one organization goes to another organization to acquire new skills and learn new techniques. So this must be a really added value. And the staff that goes on secondment must be employed for at least 1 month before the secondment. And each secondment must be between 1 and 12 months. This can be split into several stages. And at the project level, you can receive EU funding for maximum 360 months of secondments. And not all secondments are eligible for EU funding. What is eligible is, of course, the secondments among EU member states and associated countries. You see an example here between Switzerland and Spain. If you have secondments with organizations based in low and middle income third countries, these are also eligible for funding in both directions. So see this example between Switzerland and Ghana. So if you have partnership with these categories or with this category of countries, this is definitely an interesting funding scheme. So what about higher income country? So secondments, for example, here from Switzerland to Japan are eligible to receive EU funding, but not the other way around. So if there are secondments, if you plan secondments from Japan to Switzerland, the Japanese organization must use its own funds, or perhaps there is the possibility for them to receive funding from the government. And for categorization of the countries, higher, low income, and so for some information about this complementary funding, you will find the links in the video that I've sent you, but also in the follow-up email. And another requirement, this is the last one, I promise, is about the scientific disciplines. As the staff exchanges also want to promote interdisciplinary research. So secondments within the same sector, so within academia or within industry, are possible, but should not be more than 1/3 of all the secondments in the project. If these secondments are among EU member states and associated countries, there is the requirement that they must be interdisciplinary. And but this rule does not apply if the secondment is with a third country outside of Europe. And regarding the funding, so we have a total of 5,010 euro per month of secondment, which is divided as follow. So 2,710 for the staff member going on secondment, and this is as a top up to the salary of this person. And for the organization, we have 1,300 to cover for research, training and networking activities, and also 1,000 for management and overheads, indirect costs. So what's in it for you? So Professor Weber will tell you more, but I would say that this is a great funding scheme if you want to upskill or train your staff, your colleagues, or yourself as well. This is also a good funding scheme to establish and consolidate networks, maybe towards maybe new applications in other funding schemes. And it's also a great funding scheme for knowledge exchanges across sectors, so between academia, industry, for example, and across borders. The 2025 call is open since the 27th of March. The deadline is in about 5 months, on the 8th of October 2025, and you should then receive the results in March 2026. And if successful, if you're successful, the projects can start at the earliest in September 2026. These are the stats of the last call where we have the results. So it's a 2023 call. And yeah, one thing that is also quite attractive in this funding scheme is that the success rates are quite higher than in most of parts of Horizon Europe. So in the last call, as you can see here, it was the success rate was 31%. So almost 1 out of 3 proposals. And yeah, you will receive useful resources also in the follow-up email. But just to let you know that there is some guidance that is available if you want to apply. And this is us, the Swiss MSCA NCP team. And you can contact us for any questions at msca@uresearch.ch. But now for the most interesting part of the day, or of the session at least, I leave the floor to Professor Michele Weber, who will share his rich experience with Staff Exchange. I will now stop sharing.
Well, can you see slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. And thanks for the interest. I'm a professor at the University of Bern, the director of the Lab for High Energy Physics. I'll have a few slides on this one, a little bit my background that ties into why we did submit a few of these staff exchanges. Overall, I managed to get successfully funding for 3 of them over the past several years, and it has been very successful. So my research is in experimental particle physics. I'm doing detector development, so developing the techniques to measure particles and their interaction, usually novel, that also finds application to other fields, which ties into this interdisciplinary nature also of these staff exchanges. I'm involved in collider physics, so that's CERN, LHC, but we are also doing particle detectors and searches for new particles. But the last field is where most of the scientific engagement was on these staff exchanges, which is neutrino physics, which with an experiment specifically in the USA. I could have done it with the CERN experiments at the LHC. However, you cannot do exchanges Switzerland to Switzerland because CERN is already in Switzerland. That was less interesting for me to travel, while the US was a good target for having extended stays, also then with industry, as we will see. So neutrinos are elementary particles. They're very challenging to detect. And so that's where we do need many institutions, contact to industry for the technology. We need high intensity beams and large detectors, which then explains the series of 3 grants that we got here to do the science. So I'm typically involved in these big science, long-term international experiments, which were already networked, but the staff exchanges helped to strengthen and with significant added value. Just to give you a quick impression of what this looks like, a few images. And so when we say labs, for us, this isn't a chemical lab. It's more like a workshop where we build our detectors, typically small. Here on the left center is an image from a lab at the Uni Bern. It's just equipment, cryogenics, electronics, readout hardware. Also here on the top left, this is the size of a person and lots of cables and pipes. This is one object we installed in the US in this experiment, which is the bottom left image near Chicago. This is a beam of neutrino at this Fermilab where we shoot them through the Earth about 1,300 kilometers to South Dakota. And we install such detectors. This is already a small one. What is in here in this left image in Bern is shown on the all the way to the right. This is a 1 meter by 1 meter by 3 meter object. We will build 35 of them to be put here near Fermilab in what we call the near detector. We explore these neutrinos as they go from near site to a far site, these 1,300 kilometers away, and we'll install even larger detectors here. Just to depict it, what it looks like in this near detector here is the graph in the center. It's a setup. This is a 5 by 7 by 3 meter, where all the 35 modules like this one are hosted, and then there is additional detectors on the back. This is 18 meters, so that gives you the size. And so to build all of this, we are already quite networked, although we use the staff exchange to strengthen the collaboration, as we will see in the first one, especially with Fermilab and Travels, and fund the extended stays that otherwise we would not be able to fund. And so the first one we got was called Intense. So that's related to these neutrino physics that need high intensity particle beams, but it was not just about neutrinos. We then created 8 work packages, although 5 are the scientific, and then 3 of them, which I'll keep on all of them, is the dissemination outreach, transfer of knowledge and management. And the scientific one is on the detectors. This one I was leading that working package. Then we had the physics of neutrino with reconstruction and data analysis. But then the high intensity part was not only the neutrino physics. There are other experiments which need a lot of particles to go in. For example, muons that are also produced at Fermilab, and there we have a physics topic is the lepton flavor violations. And with the muons, we also added an application for the detector to do myography, where you can scan glaciers or find holes in pyramids. And this we did together with the Japanese colleagues. And so we managed all these subjects specifically on the neutrinos, but then also on the muon and the myography together in this overall consortium and exchange with industry and among the academic institutions. So that was the overall main plan. As partner for secondments, we then used the national labs. Specifically, it is Fermilab. This is the laboratory where the beam is generated. It's a map of the US near Chicago. And we wanted to establish that as sort of a hub where many of the consortium partners, but also go to Fermilab and exchange there and spend significant amount of time to create added value in how we do this type of science instead of sitting everyone in their own university. And the same we did with Japan. We also had a set of general meetings and workshops where we met separately in Italy, for example, one. And overall, this was 220 secondments. So that's people. At that point, this was larger. This was 460 person months overall, of which me in Bern, I had 32. And I used them mostly to have our personnel spend the 2 to 6 month stays at Fermilab, but also at a partner in Yale in the US. This was originally planned between 2019 and 2022, so the usual 4 years, but then COVID hit, which is obviously not a good thing for a staff exchange and travel grant proposal. And so we paused it, and it was extended by 2 years into last year for all these comments. One slide on general comments. Most of this is trivial. I guess they apply for any grant submission, but still it's good to make them. So specifically, these are really aimed, as said, to promote exchange, and is specifically long-term exchange. So it's not like you organize a workshop, we all meet for 2 weeks, and then we go back home and we do a few of these. That's not the primary goal. It's I said the unit is 1 person month, and so the person also needs to stay at least 1 month, ideally several months at one place to help really an in-depth deep dive exchange through these. The funding is allocated for these exchanges of more than 30 days. So the counting is person month. The interesting thing, you can do exchanges. This is just an extra info. Also, if not funded through this grant, it still counts in the end. So, for example, if from your institution money you already had planned someone to stay 2 months, it still counts for the overall exchange. So, really, the goal is to promote this overall meeting and sitting together at the same place. You can use it for short stays, but if you have this 5,000 euros, it still needs to add up to 30 days overall. And so if you do 6 trips somewhere and every trip is 2,000, you're just ending quickly out of money. And so that's done specifically to promote this longer term stays. So this is something you should really check these possible secondments carefully. The table that was shown on slide 10 before, it was very useful to me too. Make sure you have the necessary people. For example, you hire a student or a postdoc, stays with you only 2 years, and you planned to have 6, 7, 8 secondment months, and then the person leaves. It's still the one person that should fulfill the whole program. And so one has to be a little careful in the planning for the personnel and these months to extend this over the full 4 years. And so make early thoughts on what your teams are, consortium composition, who you would send for the travels, overall strategy and goals. I mean, it's trivial, that's for everything. Our field was already very international and networked, of course, but this really had an added value, as I said, for creating this Fermilab as a hub and for us to meet longer than the usual 1-week workshops that we could do before. For the staff exchange, we really, as I said, explored and established new cooperations to industry. We also had exchanges to the company, where some of us spend it not just a day or two, but months, 2 months with the company. And the company spend really 2 months on site at some universities in Italy to explore this cooperation. So it was very helpful. These are the more trivial things. A proactive and very much engaged coordinator, of course, helps. That's absolutely key. Someone who coordinates this. This is, as I said, Marco said this, it's not a proposal you put in alone with maybe one partner and then the coordinator just acts. For us, it was, I think, 20 in this one, academic and 10 non-academic and partners. So you have to deal with 30 partners collecting all the letters, the cooperation. And so it is quite some management work too. And a good coordinator certainly helps. And also the support from grants office, from EU research. I remember especially these tables of which country can go to which one, how to do it, and the exchange. Once you make that plan, to spend 100 or more seconded months was extremely useful. These have helped us considerably. Okay, so there's a lot of things we could not have done. I mean, we could not spend 10 students for 3 or 4 months to the US to build an experiment without this. We just could not find any other funding. But then I just added 2. The other 2 were similar. The next one was called probes. Then we went away a little bit from the neutrino physics. This was on hadron physics, but similar scheme, promote collaboration on lepton flavor. We added more targets than just specifically the one was motivated most on Fermilab one. This is a Jefferson lab in the US. We added the Japanese lab at KK. CERN was included with other partners, a lab in Switzerland too. And in Osaka was again the 5+3 work packages, but now on other physics and detectors. We had several secondment sites, as I said, over three continents. And again, the same exchanges with industry and vice versa. This was 470 person months overall, and I had 8. So because I had a major role in the first one, in this one I had a smaller one, but it was still very, very useful. And the last one, I got same scheme, similar. This one we included Brazil as a country. Through these other cooperations, we added interest in Brazilian colleagues to also participate. And so we put this one in. This was one that was done through the SERI SBFE funding especially. And so the interest of getting us on board was that we were not getting into the total amount of the EU. The Swiss contribution was just extra, and they have another 26 person months to spend. This was dedicated to these neutrino oscillation programs, same scheme, exchange of industry, different partners, adding Brazil, and we're still collaborating with this. This is in progress right now. So that's what I can say, and I'm open for questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's great to have some concrete practical examples. Before we start opening the floor to the audience, I remember you can add your question to the chat. I have a couple of questions, 2-3 questions to you. Yeah, in your view, what are you already referred to this in the presentation, but what will be in your view, the benefits of such a funding scheme?
Yeah, it's really the deepening and extending